welcome to Waterloo Student News. I'm your host, Lindsay, and today we will be talking about the Tunisian conflict. In breaking news, Tunisia, a North African country, is currently undergoing severe conflict. Tunis, the capital of Tunisia, has undergone a number of riots and demonstrations as a result of the new government system. Reporter Danielle joins us via satellite from Tunis with more information regarding this.
Thank you, Lindsay. The Tunisian Republic is home to 10.4 million. The major languages are Arabic and French, and the major religion is Islam. Tunisia is a region of olive groves and agriculture, which is racked by vast unemployment, repression, and poverty. President Zain El Abidine Ben Ali fled the country after weeks of demonstrations and riots, during which dozens of people were shot in the streets by security forces. The president for life opted for early retirement after 23 years in power. It all started when a young man in the town of Sidi Bouzid set himself on fire to protest the government's confiscation of his food court, his sole source of income, and his fellow citizens responded in kind by setting the country on fire. They're angry about the usual things citizens who live in police states get angry about: corruption, a lack of political rights, media censorship, and economic stagnation. Looting, deadly prison riots, and renewed street clashes put Tunisia's Jasmine Revolution on an uncertain, rocky road as the North African nation's hated strongman leader settled into exile in Saudi Arabia. Tanks and armored personnel carriers were deployed around the capital, Tunis, and by nightfall, some neighborhoods looked like military encampment. In Mahdia, further down the coast, 5 prisoners died in rioting, and the panicked prison director opened the doors to let 1,000 inmates out. Parliamentary leader Fouad Mebaza was quickly sworn in as interim president and vowed to create an inclusive government embracing all Tunisians without exception. Secretary of State called the Tunisian foreign minister and urged the new government to address popular concerns about economic opportunities, civil liberties, and democratic elections. Tunisians in the capital, meanwhile, lined up outside the few stores that finally reopened on Sunday, desperate for bread and other staples. Secretary of State called the Tunisian foreign minister and urged the new government to address popular concerns about economic opportunities, civil liberties, and democratic elections. Tunisians in the capital, meanwhile, lined up outside the few stores that finally reopened on Sunday, desperate for bread and other staples. By Sunday morning, the bursts of gunfire around the capital were less frequent. Cars began returning to city streets, commuter trains were running, the airport had reopened, and pedestrians once again ventured out. The government relaxed the nighttime curfew by 1 hour to 6 p.m. After weeks of pitched battles with security forces, it is now a place of forceful but peaceful arguments over the future of this North African nation. Tunisians have found their voice and the freedom to air their views. I recently had the chance to have an interview with a civilian from Tunisia.
Hello, Chalker. Thank you for being on our show. What are your personal thoughts and feelings on the Tunisian conflict?
Well, first thing, I'm extremely happy and proud of what happened in Tunisia. And I think that's the feeling of like most Tunisian. Everybody I know in Tunisia, my family, everybody I know, everybody is happy and proud. So this situation was really, really bad. And people didn't have any hope in Tunisia. All people who have any opportunity to go outside Tunisia, to leave Tunisia, they would do it. People staying in Tunisia were poor. The student, you finish your studies and you know that you won't have any job. So people were not happy at all, and there were no hope, and they have absolutely no way to get a better life in Tunisia. So the situation was really bad. So when this revolution started, people there actually have absolutely nothing to lose. The situation cannot be worse. So people were actually happy to die rather than continuing with this kind of stupid situation we had before. And even though the revolution and all that problems created during that very difficult period affected a lot people, either psychologically or physically, people were happy and they wanted that change. They didn't want to continue living as they.
So, your family still lives in Tunisia, correct? Were they affected by the military and police forces?
Yeah, there was in the city, there was even shooting just in front of our house during the first few days of the revolution. So there was shooting, there was a police cars, there was an army car in front of the house, but none of my family was affected by that physically.
Good. Chalker, what would you say the main needs were of the Tunisian people?
People were, main thing they were looking for is freedom, jobs, a better quality of life, and to stop living under the corruption.
Thank you for your input today, Chalker. Waterloo Student News appreciates it.
Thanks, Danielle. Some pretty interesting issues raised in Tunisia. Joining us now is Saho, an international conflict analyst. She is from Japan and has been working in this field for 10 years. Welcome, Saho.
Thank you. Please take a look at this chart. Firstly, those four circles are the main causes of frustration of people in Tunisia. Firstly, the long-term regime caused the frustrations people. The second reason, in Tunisia, officials say that unemployment rate is about 11%, but people say it is more than double among youth population. The third reason is the price increase. All the food and daily necessity. It's not affordable for the citizens of Tunisia. The fourth reason, the Green Bubble says censored media. The Tunisian government censors internet and the communication of people, but the thing is Facebook and Twitter were not censored. The government did not think it could cause a national right problem. These were the key factors of frustrations in Tunisia. And finally, it can be described by the human identity theory. In revolutions like this, only one person is needed to provoke national-wide movement. As we know, it expanded very quickly by the social network media, like Facebook and Twitter. Even though the suicide was not broadcasted in Tunisia, at this stage, other people also felt the meaning of this suicide and felt the connectedness as Tunisians who are suppressed by the government. This is the most important part. The revolution was successfully gained recognition among the civilians, people who are feeling the same. Their freedom rights for movement and speech were threatened, so they also identify themselves by standing up for the right to express their frustrations. We've been talking about the reasons why the conflict was provoked. Now we have to think about how to settle the situation like this. What they want is not a conflict. Their goal is to restore justice and basic needs as Tunisians in Tunisia. These are the possible solutions. Obviously, there is need of reconstructing the government. Reconstructing of the government by the citizens is really, really important. Recognizing and accommodating for youth for the future of Tunisia. And democratization. International Election Watch, democracy assistance is needed. I have to say that international support is needed, but a specific country shouldn't initiate it. The project should be a collaborative project with different kinds of countries. Democracy is on a call. However, it has to be stored based on their culture and values. We have seen many failures of restoring democracy. For example, always pushing the Western style of democracy and values to the country. It may take time, but dialogue between people should be conducted, so there will be understanding the needs of Tunisians. Thank you so much. These were the key factors of frustration in Tunisia. This is a flowchart of what happened. So, anger and the frustration accumulated like this chart. And this is important part. Social network media was the key to this conflict, since people have no freedom of speech, and with the hopeless situation for youth, they empowered themselves by using social network media. The suicide was not even broadcasted, so the social networking medias were the only to share information. And then finally, it led this conflict to break out.
Thank you, Waterloo students, for tuning in. We want your opinion. It's your turn.
How is the Jasmine Revolution different from other revolutions?
And how can Tunisians stay with this conflict?
See you next week.
Bye.